Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the November 9th, 2021 Effingham Board of Selectmen's meeting. Before we get started, I have a couple more things to read here with the paperwork we usually do ahead of time. Bear with me for a couple minutes and then we will start.
If you want to mute it till we start.
Thank you, everyone. Before we get started, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, let's see. Signature folder, Selectmen's meeting minutes of November 2, 2021. I'll make a motion to pass the Selectmen's meeting minutes, November 2, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, for aye?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to pass the Selectmen's meeting minutes for November 3rd, 2021. Second.
Second.
All those in favor, for aye?
Aye.
Approval of the manifest dated November 10, 2021 in the amount of $100,382.57. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, for aye?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we have the month ending ambulance report from Action Ambulance. On that, out of the calls we had for the month, it looked like it was basically an average month over the last 4 or 5 months. There was another thing in the mail folder regarding Old Pound Road conditions, which was a grading item. And Lenny, I think you said the grader's out there doing its thing on some of the roads. Good. So grading has started. This will be the final grade for the year before freeze. Announcements. The town offices will be closed November 11, 2021 in the observance of Veterans Day. And the Selectman's office will be closed on Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. Because staff have something they're doing off-site individually. Administrator comments.
I replied to a significant number of 91A requests. I had a couple new ones come in. And there's 2 of them that are going to take pulling files from 3 years back. So I told Mr. Edwards that would be when I got back from my vacation. A&B lock was here again. The PD looks significantly better. The wiring's been fixed and we finally resolved the issues with the alarm going off in this building. So I didn't get a call this past weekend, right?
We get the front door lock fixed too.
Yes, they fixed the front door lock too. I worked with Teresa to post the land use board minute taker position. And I worked on the executive budget, which you'll review later today. The budget spreadsheets, making sure that the budget committee and the office match where we're at. And when you want to get to it, we need to talk about the holiday schedule for 2021.
Do we have that, based on the emails that came out to all of us? Do we have that in here for discussion today?
No, I can
Okay.
go ahead and print it out.
We can just add it on. Okay.
That's it.
Meeting. Okay.
I am out for the next week tentatively. As I said earlier, that might change based on my travel plans. It might shift.
No.
I'll let you know.
So, okay, good. Lenny.
We had a tree come down on School Street last week, right down here by the brook. Beavers.
Oh, no.
They're a long way from the river. They haven't been in the brook, but they're coming a long way. So they probably have activity in that brook at some point. Right now, they're not.
Have either one of you made a ride around to our five beaver
Yeah,
places? How
Yeah.
do we say it?
yeah. That beaver deceiver on Clough Road's working great.
Okay.
I checked the culverts on Wilkinson Swamp Road. They're both running. One of them is pretty lazy. You look at the down Riverside, there's a lot of sticks and stuff sticking out, so old stuff that probably it's caught up in there, but it's running, just not running really good.
Townhouse Road?
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing, no activity. It's really strange.
Mike took another one out of, another beaver out of the Snow Road
Yeah,
Dam, a small one, and Mark.
so that must be the only place I've seen that any of that activities.
You know, they dropped a couple of oak trees just before the bridge right onto Snow Road 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So one of them they took away, and I actually saw it on the dam when Mike took the picture. The other one, I moved out of the road. So he's actually taking the dam apart again, and he's gonna monitor that and make sure that the dam is enough apart for one of those gonna be down when the ice happens. So, okay. Thank you.
Champion Hill Road, when they fix that catch basin there, don't forget should clean that ditch out, so. I think most of the leaves are down by now, so that ditch won't plug up before winter. And
Just make sure that's one of the ones we blow the page off.
I got a couple calls in for cement pads at the transfer station. One guy called me back, didn't want anything to do with it. He says, I only do residential. Okay, didn't know they made residential and commercial concrete, but maybe they do. And Graham Thompson, his wife called me back. He's real busy, but he's gonna call me and make an appointment Sunday to meet him over there, so. Haven't heard from him, but.
And those cement pads will be underneath the metal dumpster and the bottle dumpster.
Right.
Okay.
She said that he's pretty sure what we need because he did Ossipies and he's done 10 lots. So
Okay.
he's just real busy. So. We have a padlock on that shed out there that you get a picture date with every time you want to. Well, I brought up that padlock that we used on the front door last week. Why don't we, I don't need it anymore. Why don't we just throw it on
Let's
that
change
shed?
it. Have some peas made up, so they've got,
It's combo.
oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, okay.
Yeah.
Now, just need to make sure we,
Because I wouldn't want to be standing in the pouring rain trying to open that padlock up there.
I'm good with that. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
All right, yep, thank you for the donation.
Okay. So,
And I think Brad will probably thank you too in the middle of the winter when it's blowing.
yeah, And
I can put a note with Brad's paycheck this week for what the code is.
okay,
Make sure it's run down somewhere else.
Yeah, I gotta put a sticky around the inside of the key box or something.
Yeah.
Somebody else is gonna need to get into it at some point.
yeah, Randy, do you have any need to get in there at times? Probably do, huh?
Transfer station?
No, the shed.
The sign shed,
Yeah, some, when I need to change sign or something.
yeah,
Okay.
so make sure Randy gets it. Okay. One other thing, I forget who now I was talking to, over cemeteries, and they asked about the town poor cemetery. And if that's a town cemetery. And I says, well, you think it should be. It's called the town poor cemetery. You think the town would take control of it? What do you think? It's a good question.
I think that's one of the reasons we did the woodland one up off Hobbs Road.
Yeah, so it's town rich cemetery, but we have a town poor cemetery. I mean, it says it's town poor. I don't know why the town wouldn't take it. But consider it town property.
Same reason we're not taking other cemeteries, perpetual maintenance problem, and it only gets
Well,
worse.
I mean, that one, we whack
I
it
know-
twice a year.
And I know Effingham Connect did a lot of cleanup on that one and cut a lot of stuff out and
Yeah.
cleaned it up. So,
I mean, I went up a month ago and weed whacked it, but, weed whack it, blow the leaves out of it, that's about it. There's no mowing, there's no grass or anything in it.
I think there's actually a presentation on that town poor cemetery tomorrow.
Yeah,
Wonder
the
if
coffee
right?
hour.
Yep.
But
it's,
well, maybe that's who I was talking to, was Sarah.
Oh.
Oh, it's something.
okay,
to
yeah,
consider.
no, it's like, I'll make a note, go, I'm gonna drive by it and look at it, I've never been there. So,
Yeah, we cleaned it up, put a sign up and stuff, but, I mean, the maintenance isn't gonna be much. Anyway, that was just a question. I think what we budget for cemeteries, what little money it would cost, and still be under budget if we decided to take it. Okay, that's all I got for right now.
okay, let's see. Technology contract proposals. Andre, I know you've been reaching out. Have you gotten anything back from?
I have not put out an RFP yet.
Okay, all right. And with the USDA, the final sign off, I know you've conversations going on with them around our last submission to make sure we have everything. And make sure we tell them we do not have refrigerators. HEB Engineering's on track. I talked to Chris Fournier last week to do the engineering work we have for Bailey Road to get us ready for a bid just after the beginning of the year. And Tom, you said you followed up with Hanson?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
He doesn't know he jumped you.
No, I'm going down the list.
Okay.
So the,
It's the only thing I got, so I just spoke with Hanson, I've been speaking with Hanson.
okay, actively,
Yes, and last was at 7:30 this morning.
do I need to call
He says, no, I think I got it.
him? Okay,
And he said he'll be here Friday. Like Lenny just read the weather off of Friday, it's rain all day.
Yep.
And so, but we're gonna keep on him. I mean, he knows we're not happy on this, gone on long enough. to fix it.
okay,
What are you talking about? Fixing-
Bailey Road, we got the emergency fixed there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He needs to come back and have some work done to the curb fail.
before everything freezes up. Last item I had was the email Audrey sent us on the employee holiday pay. So currently, the written personnel policy says full-timers only get holiday pay. The Board of Selectmen starting, I believe it was last year, started offering part-time vacation schedule to people. We did not address the holiday pay beyond if an employee is scheduled to work that day, then they get paid for it. If they're not scheduled for that day, they don't get paid for it. So the question I have is, do we want to still continue with the vacation part of the part-time benefit? The holiday benefit rather, for the part-time people. 'Cause we have,
Yeah, it doesn't affect that many people.
you want to give it to everybody even though they're not working? I mean, we've got part-time people with part-time schedules.
Hmm.
I'm thinking we should be, if you're scheduled to work on that day, then you get it. If you're not, then you don't get it. Full-timers are different. And we list,
That's
and we
basically
list
how I
12,
How
we list
many,
12 or
uh,
13 federal holidays in there right now. We do pay for.
Right, it's either 10 or 12. So for example, on Thursday of this week, Veterans Day, the 5 office staff would get the holiday. Oh, and Maria, because she works Thursdays, so they would get the holiday.
Yeah.
Christmas is a Saturday, so we would not get it, the transfer station would get it. That's the way I interpret how it's written.
Yeah, but they. Yeah, that'd be their scheduled day, even though they wouldn't be working.
They would get paid.
They would get paid.
Transfer
yeah.
station would get paid.
So full-time gets the full schedule of holidays. Part-time, if you're scheduled to work that day, then you get paid for that holiday.
That's how it's written.
You good with that?
So you don't have to actually work that. So if it's
No.
holidays on a Saturday, you don't have to actually work it to get paid.
Correct.
Okay.
So transfer station guy, he's a good example. Transfer station guys are a good example on that. Christmas is on Saturday. We're closed, they get paid.
Right. But the office wouldn't get paid.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
Same with Thanksgiving.
that's a Thursday,
Yeah.
so office would get paid,
Right.
transfer station wouldn't.
Okay. Good. Now, did I answer the question? you
Thank
had
you,
from a
yes, I
clarity
just wanted to
standpoint?
make sure we had consensus.
Yep, yep. And I think we've got some of that in the draft language of the update for personnel policy.
Yeah, my email quoted the draft.
Okay. Good. All right, let's see. You said Hanson was on comment here? Okay. All right, let's see, into new business. We're gonna basically start out with the road maintenance bids. We received one bid out of the advertising we did for 30 days from Evans Brothers. And I've asked Audrey, once we open this up, to make a copy of it before we dive into the discussion. And Ron has submitted the hourly rate scenarios for the different uses of equipment and personnel, and provided copies of insurance, which is required. So, you make a copy of that if you would.
Only one bid.
One bid. Audrey actually called around to places and mailed phone. So. Next year, I think.
Yeah, except for one. Maybe five.
Okay, so there's at least 3 or 4 that would decline. No. All right. Audrey gets back, let's dive into the budgets. For 2022. One of them I can cover right now, the EMS contract, the ambulance, has not heard from John Hatch. He did shoot me an email saying he would get it to us shortly. He just didn't define what shortly was.
I thought you said you had one. I thought we.
He was
had the numbers.
like kind of led to believe that I was gonna have it like last Friday, but then the subsequent email was, yeah, shortly you'll have it.
Okay.
So,
So, take that off.
Dave, do you want us to put a placeholder number in there from the budget committee standpoint, or do you wanna wait?
Yeah, you can put in what you've got listed, and that can obviously change with the budget meeting when we put it up.
That's perfect.
Or you can update it if you have to, if we haven't done the budget.
All right. So let's look at approving this as it is right here, this number, and then know we're gonna probably adjust it when we finally get our distribution. Are you okay with that, Lenny? Okay, make a motion to approve line item 4215 EMS contract for the budget season in 2022 in the amount of $89,000. For your second. All those in favor, for aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
do you have a copy of the Emmons contract? The prices were in there.
But the distribution of the percentages with the agreement when the contract was put together was annually. The towns would be reevaluated based on their actual use and percentage, and then applied to the contract rate for that year. We know ours have gone up. We knew last year we were up, but they elected not to do any changes last year, so this town actually made out to the tune of about $1,000. We're gonna get an increase, and my guess is it's gonna be somewhere up in the 110 to 120 range for the year, but we haven't got the final number in yet, and that's what John's putting together for all 6 towns. He's supposed to distribute that report to everybody at the same time, so everybody will know what the number is. Did that answer it, Randy?
Because when I called him about that issue about saying he responded 22 and from 17, he said it didn't matter, because they set a price what they want to get in each town, take a number of calls, each town had divided by that.
And then, but his report, we agreed his report would be the one that would set the numbers for all 6 towns.
Okay.
So, and that's the one we're waiting on right now, because it'll tell us what our percentage was. We know from the ambulance meeting we were at, I think when we did the contract 2 years ago, we were 9.5, a little over 9. almost 10.
9.31% at that time, it should be over 12.
Yeah. So our current run rate's over 13, but because we're using a period of April 1, 2020 through March 31, 2021, we're actually gonna make out a little bit better this year because the number is somewhere in the 12% range, not 13. So again, slightly, at some point, we're probably gonna get caught, but not this year. Okay. Lenny, from the standpoint of we'll take a look at the contract from Evans Brothers, or excuse me, outline of costs, it's not the actual contract. Based on numbers I'm having, I've been using people at the house, this is average to slightly below average numbers. I wish I could get these rates for me.
You have more money. I got a question. He's got down here for the blower. I've never seen it being used. Does he even have one?
I don't know.
When I was talking with Kevin, Kevin says, I don't know why he doesn't blow the ditches and make it so much easier, save us some money.
On the previous contract, he listed a JD 5610.
Yeah, Kevin said he has a tractor.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, John Deere, yeah.
Tom, can you ask him? Because I agree with Lenny, I think the case where we got it. When Champion Hill and some of the other roads, you would know that we filled up, it spilled out the road and causes.
Well, I mean, you know, this time he blows the leaves out of the ditches in the grade. So you don't pull all that stuff into the road, so
Right.
you can't grade with it.
Right. Well, I know 3 years ago, when we had hired somebody to do it, they did it before the lead drop.
Yeah.
And it was great, nice and clean, when we dropped it in the fall, it was full, so. You got that one, Brian?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Anything else, Mike?
No, that's the only.
Tom?
No.
Insurance is there, as required. In the amounts, minimum amounts we require.
Well, do we have last year's, you know what, last year's figures were?
Audrey,
Not that
do you
I'm
have
worried.
Audrey's got it.
The 1921 hourly rates were either the same or $10 less per hour.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
No, nothing's ever.
Lenny, anything else?
No.
Ready to vote?
Yeah.
Make a motion to accept Evans Brothers for the road maintenance contract from January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2023. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, for the right?
All right.
Good.
I want to clarify what I said. So the previous one was $10 less, the new one's $10 more.
$10,
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
2 years plus what's going on.
All right, so you want me to write to him? Or-
Yeah, we'll call him.
Chuck,
Either way,
Could you repeat the dates, sir?
January 2022 through December 31, 2023. 2 years.
Thank you.
Did I say wrong?
I wasn't, I thought.
No, okay,
compared
it's
to
good.
21
It's all right, just want to make sure I had them right.
Could have been
All right. Okay, let's dive into the worksheet for executive, line item 4130. And Audrey's prepared a supporting document with that. So Audrey, I'll let you walk down through it.
Okay, sure. I'm recommending the executive budget be 2% less than the 2021 budget. That's a decrease of, I guess I changed I did something I misremembered here. So a decrease of just over $3,000. And the salary, the combined salary for the office staff is a reduction of 1.16%. The computer services and contracted services, I made changes to those. I anticipate the computer being greater. When I met with Mr. Lenhurst a month or so ago, he said that the police station hadn't been covered. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And the contracted services this past year were primarily accountant, and I don't anticipate using him nearly as much.
Okay.
What I don't know is what went into the thought of the previous budget, because I wasn't here.
Good.
All right, the mileage, it's, the assessor is at $50 per month in his mileage. And then I anticipate,
So flat rate,
yes,
not by the mile.
right.
Okay.
And I anticipate that Darlene and I will actually get to go to conferences in person or workshop in person and meet people next year.
A novel, like
Yeah.
building relationships. Okay.
The office equipment and supplies I kept flat. We absorbed the expenses for most of the committees, so that is at $4,200. The postage meter, it's mostly the rental of the postage meter, $18.52, and then the balance of $5.48 would be actual postage. There's several categories I kept flat: the moderator, the selectmen, and the trustees. I have myself.
Just 1 second.
Yep.
Are you gentlemen good with that? Okay.
Myself, Darlene, and David, increasing $1 per hour. Overall, as I said earlier, it's a decrease in the salary line items of 1.16%. The planning, zoning, assessing have been discussing changes to the website to make it clearer. And I met with Teresa. She anticipates her hourly rate for maintaining the website increasing. And I guess when she does development of website, it's a different rate.
Yes.
And we estimated 80 hours for that.
So we're gonna make that kind of an effort. So that email that you and I traded the other day on Civic Plus or something like that, I had reached out to them like 3.5 years ago, looking for information because they manage municipal websites all over the country, a lot of them in New Hampshire. It might be worth finding out roughly what their price tag would be to do a website redesign. The nice thing is a lot of the stuff is templates now. It's not something you've got to spend a lot of time with, so it should not be anywhere near the kind of price tag it was 4 years ago.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Let's see, the telephone is estimated at $600 for 12 months. So that ends up being a decrease of over $1,000. The town report, I also reduced. The actual for this past year was like $775, so I'm putting in $775. So I'm putting in an estimate of $1,000.
We still had a box left over, didn't we, or half a box from last year?
But people took them. I did
Oh,
have
you
a
did,
few
okay.
people come
Okay.
in mid-year and ask for
Okay.
them.
So we didn't have to recycle any?
No, we didn't have to recycle any.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good.
That was good. And workshops I kept flat.
So the question I have on the computer services,
Yes.
so the 13,800 we spent for the year, there's no equipment in there, is that correct? That's just service contracts.
So you're looking at the budget to
Yeah,
actual?
yeah.
No, I believe all our desktops are in there.
Okay. Are you good with doing that rather than taking it out of the ETF for equipment? I am, and the reason I am is because at some point that printer's gonna die, and we haven't got anywhere near enough money in that account for a printer.
The big
All
contract.
right. Yeah.
You good? Okay, good. That was the question I had.
We also have the server as a major outstanding item.
We can actually, if we need to, we can use that fund for that. We'll get to it next year. Okay, looking at any of the other line items, any questions, comments? So the budget for 2021 was $162,500. The budget for 2022 is $159,328. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, make a motion to approve line item 4130 executive for the 2022 budget season in the amount of $159,328. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, for aye?
Aye.
Thank you. I'll put these all on top of that. I'm sure Dave will want a copy before. Okay, and next item on our agenda. Review of the 2020 audit for the budget chair, and this is the draft audit, right? We don't have a final one yet? Because I've only got.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention. My fault.
I know, it's just, no, we don't have the final in yet. I was wondering if we could do the tax rate prior to that, because if I can run it out, if you approve it and I can run it out and submit it, then we can
Oh, that'd be novel.
get going.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be
All right.
great. That's old business jumping up.
Yep, no, I don't mind that.
Thank you.
Do you have was it print out of what that's?
Yes, it's Jeremy found it.
Good. Okay, so the rate for 2020 2021 into 2022 budget is going to be at $22.49 a thousand. Once you did that overlay in there, did you rerun your numbers as to what the rate went up for town, local, state?
Yes,
'Cause I know we were under.
right, I didn't reprint it. Do you want me
Okay.
to?
So Dave, it's
28 cents on
it's still 28
Yeah,
with the
28
overlay?
that sounds right.
Okay,
the town part.
the town part, yeah, so the town part was down from the previous year. The county one was down, I believe, 4 cents. And the school was up, I believe, $1.52.
51, I believe it was, whatever. Yeah,
And then the
pretty close.
state aid, I can't remember, that one was up, but I can't remember how much. that
4
was.
cents also.
4 cents, okay. So that's what's contributed to the rate. So it's essentially from a town standpoint, we're a little better off, but with the organizations we have to support outside of town, like school and state and county, that's what's driving the rate up a little bit. Questions?
None for me. Pretty much covered it last week.
All right, make a motion to approve the 2021 tax rate of $22.49 per thousand. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, all right?
All right.
Okay.
Do you want copies of the audit?
I actually printed mine, but I'm not sure if the other guys have got it.
Did you bring yours?
No, I didn't.
Could you run? All right, while we're waiting on that, Randy, do you mind jumping in a little ahead of where we were? I guess about 6 minutes early. Okay. Your monthly report, sir.
Yes. Everything's going well. We've had some issues with engine 3 of recalls. That bring up the Ford. That is with filters and emissions. So that's still ongoing, because they didn't have all the parts. Obviously,
And that's covered by the recall itself? Or the
Yes.
okay.
you get a 50,000 mile emissions control warranty.
Okay.
It's all covered in a warranty. Other than that, everything seems to be running smooth.
Okay. And just for those that don't have Randy's report for the month, let me just tell you what we've had for calls. June, there were 38 calls, 20 of which during the day, which means the daytime coverage is covering 53% of the calls. In July, we had 31 calls with 20 during the day, which means the part-time coverage is covering 65% of the calls. In August, there were 38 calls, 15 during the day, which means it was 40% coverage by day shift. September, there were 48 calls with 25 during the day, with 53% covered by the day shift. And in October, there were 37 calls with 17 during the day for 46% coverage by the day shift. So June to October, the averages are 51.7% of the calls have been covered by daytime coverage. So, any questions? So I do have one question, and it's only because I'm hearing it from several different people. The daytime shift seems to be driving all over the place in the fire trucks and driving out of town in the fire trucks, particularly to get a lunch, I guess. Is there a reason that you can explain why we do that? I think I know it, but I'd rather hear it from you.
Well, driving around town, it's road familiarization, driver training, and it could be driving to a dry hydrant, pump training.
Which all contribute to the required training during the course of the year. Okay, good. All right, any other questions?
I got one, Randy. This one, with the day coverage, during the day, will they be shoveling snow at the station?
I hope so.
Yeah. I was just wondering, because,
They're gonna have to, if engine 3 goes out, you can't have snow in front of the door, you're gonna take the lights off the back of the truck.
yeah, okay.
That's
It was
all
just a question I had. Didn't know if we had to get
So that means
Brad
Brad doesn't have to go down there because
during the day.
they're gonna take care of it.
Yeah.
If it's a daytime thing, if it's a
Yeah.
weekend thing. Okay,
Okay, nights and weekends. it'll be there.
Right. Just so you let Brad know.
All right. Tom, any questions?
No.
All right.
And I'd like to request a non-public
Okay,
with Dave Strauss and Selectman.
okay. Will do. We don't have the chief here for police. Um, All right. Dave, would you mind highlighting the key changes? We're down to the 246 pages in this report. Did you read a copy
Of
of
the
it?
audit report?
Yeah.
Oh,
So we have a draft report for December 31, 2020. Some of the information we talked in here around unreserved fund balances and reason for that, we talked about with the chairman in another meeting.
yeah, no, I didn't bring that report with me on that one, because I didn't really go on that. too much. But, I think it's page 9. What? I have to take a look at it. Page 3 first.
That's double sided.
You're talking about the unassigned, right?
Yep.
What page here? Oh, it's hard to remember. It's page 9.
Which page, 9?
Page 9 at the bottom,
Okay.
you can see that they ended December 31st. Unassigned fund balance ending at 1499,035. And that includes them expecting us to have what's outstanding in liens and back taxes for the previous year. So when you factor that in, you gotta factor that in. So we don't actually have 1499.
We can't spend what we don't have.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of like someone owes you for paying for your vehicle and you haven't actually received the money saying that you have that much money. We don't have it. So they anticipate us getting that money sometime, which has happened actually this year better than it ever has happened. Well, how much in depth do you want me to go into that?
Just
Want me to
page
go into
17,
what?
you're 17,
Huh?
the gap on 17.
On page 17? So, page 17, what they're doing here is they're taking, if you look at the unassigned fund balances, right in the middle of the page 17 for exhibit 7, that's at 1499,035. Lonnie, Tom, you see that?
Yeah.
And what they did was they took away the 716,384, which was just the previous year's owed taxes, not the liens. And that gave them 782,651 is what they were saying. That's per gap. So they have a budgetary and a standard, which is far as called gap. We're using the budgetary basis, which is what we're going on. So when you figure in everything that we have liens plus that 716, everything that came in, we had about 460, 80, I don't have that number. I have that number 80 or somewhere. We have about 400 and something when you take off what was allocated at the town meeting. Yeah, because obviously in March, this is done December 31st, 2020. And in March, which we did May this year, what we took off in the town meeting, 100 and some odd thousand. And it comes out to roughly our unassigned fund balance when you deduct those sitting at the town, right after the town meeting, we're just under 500,000 in the unassigned fund balance, 490 something, 480 something. don't have exact figure in front of me, but I have it in my package, if we need it. So that means that anything that we get in, what was owed is only gonna add to that amount,
So that's a key point.
unassigned fund balance. It's only gonna add to it.
This document freezes everything in time as of December 31st, 2020.
Yeah.
Does not take into account any of the receivables that we have for
So
2021.
if you look at what Audrey gave you, which is the 2021 tax breakdown, which is this. You look at that, how you're gonna tie that to your audit is, you actually look on the back page. You'll see 1367,233. What they did here was, what DRA does is they take that 1499, which we talked about, and they subtract what we actually approved at the town meeting from that 1499. That's how they get that 1367. So it's still everything that's owed, liens and the previous year, has to come out of that to drop that down. But that's where that number comes from. That only deducts from that 1499 out of the audit sheet of what we put out in March or May last year. So that's how you get that number.
So to get a proper picture for what we want to do with town warrant articles next year and how we're going to fund those, we've got estimations, we've got the real world as of December 31, 2020. Plus we have the current budget to actual that we've been working with. When we get to 12/31 of 2021, the remaining funds in the operating budget become unassigned and actually can be added to the balance that's there. So we need to wait a little further before we can actually say, okay, here's how we want to fund some of the stuff we want to do next year.
Yeah, and the budget committee has in the process instruction how 3 separate points that we check to verify where we are at it. I think you guys heard us mention that in the budget committee meeting. One of those we're gonna be doing next week, because we have another data point where these 2 numbers came in. I went to the tax assessor's office, tax collector's office, and received those numbers that we have, and now we have a better idea where we're sitting, because we received so much of that liened property back in that contributed to that 1499 number. So we're actually building up more that we're gonna have in our unassigned fund balance. So it's looking like we're gonna be able to take some of that money and do some of the projects that hit us blindsided, like Bailey Road. You know, we'll have those numbers at the budget committee meeting. I mean, right now, my projection is we're at just a little over $1 million that we have an unassigned fund balance. And for a healthy unassigned fund balance, we don't want that to go below 600,000 to 700,000. So 6 is, to me, the trip point where we say we can't take any more. My preferred is 6 to 7.
And it's 6, that was about what, about 12%, right? So, okay.
I mean, based on what we spent for school funding, you know, in the previous years that we've had from the town, where we've had to borrow money as far as our own budget to cover stuff or not pay bills. I mean, I think that's a healthy number as far as handling projects, and I've worked with other people who, you know, understand that, you know, we need money in there to do the projects that we're budgeting for the year, and also what school payments that come in, because those are huge payments.
So what we've been working on as a board for the last 2 to 3 years, still working on it this year, is basically making sure we can pay our bills on time. To reiterate what Dave just said, because of the way we have run our unassigned fund balances in the past, we actually, because of outstanding taxes owed, because we basically approve it at town meeting, we're assuming we got the money to spend for the year. When we don't get $200,000 to $300,000 because people don't pay their taxes, it means we can't do some of the stuff we want to do. And because we were running so tight, we literally had to delay the November payment for the school And the December payment, we had to wait into the month until we had property taxes being collected, so we could go back and pay the bills. So it was operating like a credit card. You went out and you did what you wanted to do. Now you've had to pay the arrears. So what we've done is turn that entirely around. So there's no longer paying in arrears, we're paying our bills on time, and we've got money to be able to do that. July, August, September, October, November, December. So it's very important the way the budget has been running to make sure that we continue with a safe unassigned fund balance to pay those bills when they come in.
Yeah, and it appears that we've had unprecedented amount of property taxes, old property taxes come in this year. And that could be attributed to rebates, it could be the child credit. I mean, the unemployment amount that people were paid, but I've never seen the amount come in as high as it has from previous year's taxes that have recently come in. So it's an opportunity for the town to use some of those funds without hitting taxpayers for some of these unexpected projects that we have. But we'll look at that at the budget committee meeting if you want, or figures, however you want to look at that. There's a couple of things I sent to Chuck to kick around some project stuff, and I'm sure he'll share that with you when at the appropriate time. But just a couple of different suggestions on different ways.
Well, a little bit better numbers first.
Yeah, just some suggestions, that's all it is. And I wanted to run it through him first before that got out and see what he thought.
So we covered some of this with the discussion we had with Dave last week. Any other questions on this?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, Dave, thank you very much for the overview on that. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's do public comment. Up to 5 minutes, one time per person. Ask what you want, make your statement. Vicki?
In our old town, we used to get a high school student and offer community service award. You know, they have to do it to graduate in our town. I don't know if they do it here.
They still have to do community service to graduate.
Why not do this poor cemetery and get an 18-year-old with a weed whacker and earn some community service stuff? Then we don't have to pay for it really, except for gas for his weed whacker.
There's one.
Know anybody?
No, but I'm sure there's
That's it.
some in town. I mean,
Well, I'm sure we can.
Try to find somebody.
I bet if you advertise it as, you know, even if you could get together with the school and say, get a half a credit or something, you know? There's gotta be some kids that are suffering to graduate. That need the credit.
You need to have somebody in charge to nice
Well-
that down.
Power equipment,
Then he could sit there in his lawn chair and watch them.
18 or older and
With my
adult.
cooler.
Well, some kids graduate at 18, you know, and
No, I know,
it's a
but
summer thing.
part of what we get into too is the town insurance aspect. of
Yeah,
it And the
yeah.
risk for that.
But they
with
use their own
power
equipment.
So. even
Something to
then,
think about.
So it's worth a discussion. All right, anybody else? Hold on one second. Diane, I got your email the other day from Audrey. And you'll be copied on that hopefully by tomorrow morning. Going up to the Carroll County broadband folks.
Okay, have we got like an actual date or anything?
Oh, no,
Have any-
they're still
it's
collecting
information?
signatures. So my guess, based on what's going on right now and all the towns are in the budget season, budget discussions.
Spring,
No, winter probably,
okay,
It'll
but
be-
after the new year,
I suspect, yeah,
okay,
that's my guess.
just keep me posted.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Collins.
if I pointed out a couple of pothole issues, could I still reserve my right for public comment?
You've got the stage right now for your 5 minutes. Go for it.
No, that's all right then. I don't want to waste my one play.
There's a nice big one on Green Mountain Road.
The graders are out starting to do their thing. Do we
Just the
know
potholes.
potholes too? Perfect. Potholes are being worked on too. Thank our rain.
Is it too early to know anything about the trickle down of this federal code thing that's come through, just passed and gone? Been signed by
The 39,
the
oh, for
infrastructure?
Biden? No, not that one.
Too early to
The,
know.
the only recent one we have is there was some more money that was reallocated by the states, like 39 million into 4 categories. And I believe, based on what my reading of it, Audrey, correct me if I'm wrong, Randy doing the winter checks like we did last year, where they drove out to check on the elderly during the week. I believe that was funded at that level. I believe we can get it again, right, Randy?
Supposed to be good to the end of this year.
So
Paid for.
so that's basically the only thing, is, you know, the whole thing with what just went on in Congress, that'll be trickled down in several weeks. Don't know.
So weeks though, rather than months.
So you'll start hearing stuff, doesn't mean you'll have decision points. So, you know, what would be interesting is to know what the broadband thing is. When I looked at that earlier with the money from COVID and then the money with ARPA, we had to do major matching money for that. We could get it. We had to major match. We didn't get the money. No way we can do that.
I just remembered with Obama's deal that he put through, the people really that got the money were the ones with shovel-ready jobs. And
Well, that was quite frankly, one of the timing elements for Snow Road Bridge with the USDA. That money popped up. Mike, went it, applied for the grant, we got 250 grand. I mean, that was, they don't, USDA doesn't typically do bridges, but they did in this instance. That's why the report Audrey's submitting is the final report. You're asking her how many refrigerators we have and everything else, because the reporting report isn't quite configured for a bridge. So she's working back and forth with the person up there right now to make sure they've got everything they need. So, okay. Anything else, Diane?
Any follow-up on my request a couple of weeks ago about the blind driveway sign, and after Tom's visit out there, where he could see the fishtail marks and stuff from traffic going around that. And people, especially after it's graded, they love to fly around.
I was trying to get a price on that before I went to Stu and asked him if there was something, because there was something else in town that we didn't get a sign for, so I need to see that all over the site.
Imagine how with 3 of us standing out on that corner, people slow down coming around. That's not normal.
No, and Lenny and I moved some signs around in the shed last week. And we probably need to discuss another sign order like soon. Because we don't have anywhere near the amount of signage we need to do some of the roads. That,
Yeah.
We got that big list, it's just
no, I know.
how much you want to
And
spend.
I was gonna reference that. It's like, we did a drive around a year ago, the whole afternoon, every road in town, marking down street names, stop signs, yield signs, you know, no through truck signs, whatever, and came up with a list for every single road. It was gonna be several $1,000s just to get the sign. So we started chewing it off a little bit at a time. And we might have a little bit of money in the budget to get some more this year. And then,
My husband did some clearing so that there's a little bit more visual, but it doesn't help me get around that bend as people come around by, you know, the trailer and stuff that are there.
I've also talked to the police department about why people flying around too, so they're gonna be.
Yeah, I haven't seen any increased activity, but again, not easy to see the road from the house unless you're standing in the right spots.
yeah, the daytime coverage cruisers getting around quite a bit. And I think we're gonna hear more about that when the chief comes in shortly for his monthly report. Oh, he snuck in. All right. Because I mean, I was on a couple roads yesterday and it's like, boom, it's like I saw a cruiser that I've never seen in that space before. So.
Yeah, we have seen
he
some
has
increased
getting some good
activity in
exposure
town. I
on
just
that.
can't say that I've seen it, that because I can't, I just haven't, because I'm not outside that much to see a lot of it.
I mean, that was a decrease in the speeders?
Again, kind of hard to say because I have to be out there to see and hear them, but I notice them, you know, when I am outside. No, we just got the road graded. I won't say that there's been a decrease.
All right. Thank you, Diane.
I'll get with these guys.
Yeah, but typically happens at more like 5 something when now it's too dark. I won't be outside anyway. You can't hear it from the house, but
Commute traffic time? 5 o'clock, 4:30,
Yeah.
5:30?
4:30 to 5:30. The other bad time is around like 2:30ish. Because again, it seems to be a little heavier commuter, people going to work or getting out of or something.
So like first shift and second shift's coming in.
Mom's getting
Seem to
back
be the
before
really bad
bus.
times.
For the bus,
And
yeah.
we won't talk about weekends and tourists. or
School gets out about
temporaries or whatever you wanna
2:20.
call them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm late. Yep. Okay, good. Get that on your list. Super. Anybody else? Linda?
Gee, I was just wondering what happened to the mowing this year on the sides of the roads?
We, go ahead.
We had hired someone to do that when he was new into the business. He bought a tractor, a used tractor. He had issues, put it in a shop to get what he needed done to it. According to him, he messed it up. They messed it up even worse. They're gonna buy the tractor with just a one long, we can call it excuses, whatever, with his tractor. So that was, we can't find anybody else. So it was the only name that came to us. And I've been in contact with him. As far as I know, he didn't get his tractor bought up from him yet, so.
Are we
Find
gonna
out.
start maybe next year a little earlier,
Yes.
reserving someone?
Absolutely.
That would be good. Thank
Lesson learned. Thank you.
Anything else, Linda?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Cahalan?
Couple of pothole issues, where Parsons Field Road and Hunter's Bridge intersect on the bottom of 153 hill there. There's a good sized pothole in the tar right in the center of the travel. And I noticed that the parking lot back here to the police station could use some fill in there. I think the PD's probably been pretty good about not saying anything, but it is pretty.
They've been out there doing donuts, I think.
Somebody's digging holes. And I do know that if you talk to Mr. Evans, apparently he put in a bid. He had mentioned earlier in the year that he was interested in acquiring equipment to do roadside mowing kind of work. So you might want to talk to him and see if he's going to solidify purchasing something that might be available.
We have that discussion.
I haven't, I will.
Good, okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, next up, the docket, Chief Joe Duchesne.
Yes, sir.
Monthly.
All right, so these are, well, let me back up. First of all, in regards to your speed complaint, we have had several directed patrols out there, and they've made a few stops out there on some cars. A couple of them were young kids. But so it is being addressed, just so you're aware. And it is tough when you live off the road to, like you said, to see what's going on up there and stuff. We're out
We
there.
like the privacy of.
I
not
agree.
Sitting
I
back
agree.
like that, but.
I hear
you. Because we're not as aware of what's
Right,
going on. there,
exactly, yeah.
But boy, when you do see and hear them coming around like that,
Yep.
you know, and it's scary if you're trying to get out of there as somebody does that.
Sure. Yeah, yep, it's a guessing game.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. All right, so for the month of October, and I know Chuck, you asked me to provide stats for the same month last year as well, just to kind of compare. something like that real quick. Total calls for service were 279, which has been about average 250 to 300. Last year was 178 the month of October. I don't really know why there's a huge difference in the calls coming in, but it's been quite a jump. Yeah, that might have a lot to do with it. Arrests, we had 8 this month for the month of October. Most of them were drug related out of motor vehicle stops, compared to 1 arrest last year at this time. We are up to 74 motor vehicle stops for the month of October, which is quite a few, compared to 7 last year. So motor vehicle accidents, there were 4 this past month compared to 1 the year before. I don't have the state's numbers this month, but I will have them next month.
When you get the state numbers,
Yep.
can you update your database just so your totals
Oh, yeah,
keep consistent
I
with
will.
that? I know it's a month in arrears, but when you do the
absolutely.
year-to-year comparison,
Yep.
you get a better picture.
So that's where we're at as far as stats go for October. So we've had Tyler Eldridge on working more hours. His main function has been road work, traffic work, answering the public coming in, things like that. So a vast number of those car stops are from him. So you're gonna see him out there pounding the pavement quite a bit. As far as the canine goes, just an update on the canine. He has received his tracking certification. I don't know if you got my text, but I did send you that text. He's received his tracking certification, so he's good to go there. He is ready for his drug certification. It's just now a matter of trying to find a venue that's putting it on, which can be a little tough, but he's searching pretty hard for one. So that should be coming pretty soon, I would think.
Super.
So,
So for tracking right now, we can actually use it, because he's out of this
yes,
kind of holding
yeah,
status.
criminal apprehension, criminal tracks, and you know, if there's a lost and missing kid or something like that, or you know, an adult or anything, he's ready to go. Actually,
Perfect.
any questions from anybody?
On your
Chief?
K9, you do a search, does he go by scent, or,
Yes.
because if we have, say we get called up for search for somebody, you really don't want us showing up and contaminating the
Correct.
area.
And probably what a good idea would be is to maybe have some type of training. We can set something up.
That's what I'm getting at.
But yeah, right, no, the dog operates, and this is good for anybody to know, if they have a relative or anybody walk away or get lost, the dog operates off the freshest human odor that it finds. It is in the process of being taught scent discrimination, which is, you know, you let the dog smell a t-shirt of the individual, and now he knows, okay, of all these other people that were here, this is the one I'm looking for. That's a little bit more of a skill, but he's working on that. But, you know, say somebody walks off in your backyard, no one's been back there, he's gonna pick up the freshest human odor, and that's how he works off of. So yes, staying away from the area is key. Good. Anything else?
FYI.
Yeah.
While I'm out there hunting. At 3 to 3:30 every weekday,
Yeah.
some guy is pulling out a 153 onto 25 and going west. And he just puts the metal.
Really?
And I mean, all the way
No
to
kidding.
25.
What kind of vehicle?
I think it's a pickup truck. I haven't seen it, but just by listening, that's
Okay,
every single
good to
day,
know.
3 to 3:30.
3 to
You
3:30.
might be able to get this guy.
I think we can probably handle that one.
Can't be too much on the traffic at that hour.
Yeah,
They've slowed down on Green Mountain.
yeah. All right.
In Elm Street.
Yeah, well, it's bumpy. You can't go too fast on Elm Street without losing your undercarriage.
Even
They still do.
Good. Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Maybe you can come in next month and throw a flash grenade in.
Say that again.
You come in next month, throw in the
Yeah,
flash.
then I'll know you're
grenade
here.
So that Chuck will know you're here.
I'm gonna try and bring it.
I can't believe you didn't hear the patent leather.
The hearing aid, the way I've got them functioning right now, is to go forward. So nothing on the side, nothing behind, so it reduces it down.
Yeah,
That's the hardest thing with those, bloody-
There's
Yeah.
copies here. for
trying
anyone
to
who
figure
wants
out what direction things are coming.
I mean, it's newer technology, so
He
it's,
only wears this for hunting.
but that's what it is many times. It's like somebody could walk in the door, I probably wouldn't even hear them
Huh.
unless they walk around in invisible heart. So, okay, we know from that.
I don't know if she is.
All right, she's.
No, she won't be here yet.
Randy, can we do the non-public in like 20 minutes? Sure. Okay. We need to go into a non-public.
We can do his regular report first and then non-public, right?
Oh, we already did it.
Oh, sorry. I was out of film.
We're gonna go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, comma, Roman numeral 2, A. Go ahead. That's a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. All right. Non-public. Thank
Going
you.
home to bake.
That's gonna be.
No.
All right, we're back. So sealing minutes from non-public, yay, nay, nay? Nay, good, not sealing minutes. And we came back in at 10:28. Okay.
Good morning. Huh? No, it's my default, I live in a very rural area, and so this lives by the door to get thrown on.
Yeah.
Rather than, I do have a fluorescent one as well. It's not quite as cute. So, anyway. Thank you, by the way, for accommodating my ever-shifting schedule with my husband in one car and eye surgery and all those things. I appreciate it.
It happened to work out well.
Yeah, so far he has to go back again, and his surgeon has inexplicably, his Boston surgeon has inexplicably, they won't say at the hospital what happened, they just canceled appointments. So we're waiting another week to see if they're gonna be rescheduled, and if not, he'll go up to Maine Eye Care in Portland. So it's an ongoing nightmare.
Welcome to this point in life.
Yes, exactly.
All right,
Yes.
briefly just want to cover, I mean, I've read everything you've got
Yeah.
here and
I've got
Hit
a
the
couple
high
of
points.
things to bring up, so if
Okay.
you've got any questions, then I'll bump onto anything else that I wanted to bring up.
well, it looked like the list got slightly bit shorter.
Yeah, I'm
We're
working
on
to
the
get
page
it back
now.
to one page.
Okay.
I'm working to get it back
Yeah,
to one
that's good.
page. If we could kill some of those junkyards, it would be great, but, the problem is we're being really aggressive about RVs and stuff like that. By the way, we had a really productive, this is something I was gonna talk about later, but mentioning RVs, we had a couple of really productive conversations with the planning board and with Audrey and Dave and Teresa about RV regulations. So I think we're working on a nice package to revise the RV regulations in the zoning ordinance that will relieve us of a lot of problems. It includes things like a downtime from November through March or April, when you're just not allowed to use an RV. No permits would be issued, stuff like that. Change of temporary for just that stretch of time through the summer, no day limit, just, you can get a permit from April 1st through November 1st, something like that. Then we don't have to track the days or anything,
Yep.
just in there. End date, you're out of there, done. And then if you don't take it off the property, it reverts to being a structure, and we're looking for definitions of that so that there's an automatic way for Dave to tax it because it doesn't leave the property. So it's zoning and enforcement and RV use and taxation all sort of working together.
And changing the form to include.
And changing the form to include the health issues as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think the form itself, when, at some future point, when this has all been approved that you're working on right now, somehow we reference it as a 1 or 2 liner.
Yeah.
Refer to the zoning ordinance in these areas.
Sure, yeah, so,
So that
okay,
way people can't say, I didn't know there was.
good idea. I do refer to it on a cheat sheet, but,
I think Freedom's application had it printed on the back. So we use theirs
Yeah,
as an
I'm good.
example. Yeah.
okay,
Keep it to one page from back. So it's-
Yeah.
fingers.
reference. Yeah, the application is gonna need to be completely revised, and I haven't gotten to that yet.
No, that's good.
I'm kind of waiting for the planning board to okay the language for the zoning ordinance. At that point, of course, we always get the lawyer to make sure it's all right and free and everything. But once the planning board says it's what works, then I'll start working on revising the application to reflect all that. So,
Is there anything in the discussions that you folks are working on that addresses the issue where the RV doesn't move year after year and they don't have a septic system?
we're talking about including documentation, and I'm trying to figure out what it would be. A postcard that they send back or whatever, that shows how they're disposing of their waste.
Perfect.
And it would apply to the temporary permit.
Yep.
Whether they pull it off at the end of the year or year round. It just has to do with putting it on there. And that can be an informational card that comes back to me or comes to the selectman office or even goes to the health officer. I mean,
So you hand that out in time, you do here's your permit.
yeah, I'm
Put the
thinking
card
maybe
to
when I said the permit, maybe we could come up something, maybe Minute Press could print us up a sheet of 6, 6 cards that get sent in. Even postage paid, I don't know, or we pay this in, and then they have 6 of them for May, June, July, August, September, October, whatever, if whatever we're doing it to, and it just make it simple and no brainer. Figure out what the different possibilities are and do a checkbox. I don't want to go down the road of requiring people who leave their RV there, and it's called a structure, of having to install a full-scale septic system. I think that's,
But if they're gonna be living in it year after year and that's all they're gonna do, then that's.
well, they're not living in it though. If they're only got a temporary permit, then
So the.
I know.
health
What
department
if
is
they're,
pretty clear.
if they bring it there in April and take it off in November, or they bring it there in April and leave it, but only use it April through November, it's the same usage. And so we have to figure out a way to be equitable about it, that's all.
And when we do that part of it, we just need to coordinate with this ancient septic tank ordinance that we got from 2002. Because it does state in there that if you're in it, you gotta have a septic system. So we need to probably address.
You mean in our health ordinance?
No, it's the, I don't know if it's called, yeah, I guess it is a health ordinance. isn't it?
Okay,
Yeah, but it's 2002 date, but it only addresses septic systems.
right.
So, but I just, if we're making changes, I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that that document's an ancient document and nobody's reviewed it in years.
Well, I have, yeah, but okay, I'll go back and I'll make sure
We're
that,
not out of sync.
yeah, I'll make
somebody
sure
put that
everything's
up on our-
coordinated. I absolutely, I would absolutely. So anyway, that was
Perfect.
but that was something I had on my list, and so I'll check that off. So yeah, with luck, this constant RV, you're not in compliance email thing will slow down, certainly in the winter.
It's easier to tell which ones are gonna stay because they're covered up.
Well, yeah, we talked about that. We talked about whether we could require them to tarp them if they're not using them in the winter, and we decided that we couldn't. But I thought, that's kind of an attractive initiative, which is to say, keep your RV safe. And, we could maybe Ocean State Job Lot would like to donate, 100 tarps or something like that. I just, my mind was going off in weird theatrical approaches to make things more obvious and easier. So,
3 feet of snow on the ground, RV is still sitting there.
mhm.
Good indicator.
Yeah, especially if there are no tracks, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the rest of the list, we're just still pursuing junkyards, and we've got these things like the MENA thing that's gonna be on there, it seems like forever.
The first one you had on your list on 347 Green Mountain Road. I
Yeah,
know you mentioned last time you were in that there might have been
there was a sale, the sale was, as I noted here, was October 8th, the realtor didn't bother to tell me, the new buyer didn't bother to tell me, and the previous owner didn't bother to tell me, and they all know that it's a violation property, so I thought, why are they keeping it a secret? I actually learned it by reading the real report in the Carroll County Independent, which lists sales. And then Dave and I verified it by going to the registry. So I've written an email to the new owner, who I was in contact with last June, who was saying brightly, what do I need to do? I'm interested in the property. What do I need to do to bring it in compliance? And I listed all the things that were available to her, take it down, move it, whatever. And she never responded.
Does the court order mention in it that it's successors and the signs, so it travels to the new owners?
I don't think so. I think that was the difficulty, that we spent all summer trying to get a letter of agreement from the buyer or from the realtor. a proper letter of agreement as opposed to emails that just stated that the buyer was willing to take care of the difficulty. So I've sent this email, I'm gonna give her a week, then I'm gonna send her another email and say, I think I gave her till, I may have given her till today or
But then
next.
follow-up is you're in violation. of-
Yeah, and then, if she doesn't do it, I'm gonna send her a letter of violation and copy it to Matt and everything, and then there's not gonna be any of this 3 letters and then a notice,
No,
no.
because of all the discussions you had, you've been documented.
Yeah, it's going right out, and the same with the other ones on the list that needs the notice of violation, Bob Waddington, I mean, he had time enough to get an application into the planning board or the ZBA, which was a long shot anyway, but I was trying to give the guy a break. He's got property way off in the middle of nowhere and, try to work with him in a way that maybe allows him to go forward with what he's doing. But if he's not willing to, I mean, like Galloway with his boat storage there, I mean, he didn't do a very good job of doing the site plan application, so he didn't get it. But he at least jumped on everything I asked him to do. Every time I said, you need to go to the ZBA for this, you need to go to the planning, he jumped on it and did it, whereas Waddington just hasn't bothered to follow through, so.
Speaking of the boats, so I think you had said originally with the discussion you had with the gentleman that he was planning on moving the boats in violation on Green Mountain Road
Yeah.
over to Province Lake.
Yeah.
And I was told, this is third hand, so I can't prove any of it, that in the presentation he made to one of the boards, he basically said he was planning on using both of them.
I don't remember that. I think that what.
I don't remember that.
Okay, good.
I think what I'm remembering is that it was pretty clear that since he had bought the property on Green Mountain Road to store some stuff on, that he might still store his personal boats there. But I think what's going to happen is once we establish the precedent with the boat storage on Province Lake Road of setbacks and everything, then we're going to be able to turn around and impose those setbacks on Green Mountain Road. At this point, trying to get aggressive about Green Mountain Road, especially since he isn't approved for Province Lake, so he can't move the boats over there
Yeah,
yet. And it was just his fault. I mean, he didn't fill out the full application. He just put in the checklist. It was like, why don't these people just spend a couple of bucks and get someone who knows the ropes to fill out the forms for them? I was really crushed. I mean, I thought we're going to sit this through. I had the permit all ready to go because I thought it would be approved and he could go and start moving his boats. And he hadn't even filled out a proper application, and he'd done a minor site plan, and the planning board said, no, this is a major site plan application. And so back to square one, let's just hope for his sake that we don't get 3 feet of snow before the December meeting. But what are you gonna do? It's been a year since I told him we needed to get a permit. Needed to get approval from the planning board and the ZBA. And so it's, and he's a very likable guy and I'm trying to help him, but I can only go so far.
Well, once the Province Lake item is resolved.
Yeah,
then-
Yeah,
then
he
you
just
can
has to
do-
get those, I mean, they
Enforcement
proposed
action.
a 50-foot setbacks.
Yeah.
The site plan approval will talk about vegetative buffers and hours of use and stuff like that, and then he'll be ready to go. And if you have to move his boats in the snow, he'll move his boats in the snow, I guess.
All right.
Anyway,
Nothing on the asbestos building.
down here,
Yeah.
Dave went and talked to the guy. Dave is a huge asset for us.
I've had people talk to me and say, hey, who's this Dave guy?
Yeah, it's
He's an
like-
accessory. Nice guy, came up to the house, walked in, it was like old home week. and-
Yeah, and he's great, and he's talking to the guy down there, and my favorite part of the story, I wish I could remember all of it, was the guy saying, well, I need to find out something about the septic, and I've got an email from him to answer, and I'm thinking, why does your shoreline permitting person need to know about how many bedrooms? That's so bizarre and off the wall, but anyway, maybe she's designing a septic at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's saying, Randy Nolan, he's saying to Dave, so we need, I need to find out about septic because it's a 3-bedroom house. And Dave says, oh, come on. A 3-bedroom house? I mean, a bedroom in the basement in 1910? No way. Yeah, no one had a bedroom in the basement in 1910. That's a 2-bedroom house. And there's this back and forth and back and forth. And the guy starts getting a little one. And they said, well, I'll just, I'll talk to my boss. I'll talk to Rebecca. And it's like, so he's my front man. And it's great. I'd actually like to put the real tricky junkyards over to him. Because I think maybe we might, get a little response from Van Tassel and Noble with someone else showing up on their doorstep. Which was what we'd originally talked about with getting an assistant, was maybe passing on the junkyards that were so time consuming and we weren't getting results on. And so I'm thinking Dave might be able to get the results. So that was one of my notes, was if you guys thought that was a good plan.
I'm worried about adding another position on top of his assessing position.
I was thinking about, sure he's got plenty of workload here,
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Well,
I want to keep his primary focus there. I don't want to sidetrack him with a second job.
I know, but he's
If it's a
he's,
here and there, one-off,
yeah,
great, but I do not want to go and assign him all the junkyard roles.
okay, all right, well, I'll do it here and there,
No, keep him on task.
okay, all right,
That's a challenge.
all right.
He's the guy that helps us raise revenue.
Yeah, well, these are, yeah,
He does build and maintenance too, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Okay.
Well, where it's working out well, actually, is where we have a permit application or a violation or something like that. And he goes out, and he's doing one visit that serves both departments. He's getting correct assessment for revenue for him and getting information back for zoning enforcement. And with only one person going out in the field. So that's the huge advantage.
Shows that position where after next year, actually, that type of position works.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a beta test, and the beta test is working.
Right, and this does give us a couple of months of shifting around and seeing how to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Province Lake Road,
Province Lake,
1688.
which one is that?
So if your date.
Tractor's market.
Yeah, I haven't gotten back to my desk since I did this report to send them the notice of violation.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I did this report, well, last week, just after you met.
okay.
And I've got those notices of violation to do. I've got, Susie and Collins on Pine River Road. They said it was gonna be done by a certain date, so I'm hoping that we're gonna get them done. I mean, the Enos property is gonna be on here for a while, because they have to get an SUP from the planning board to do anything with the cabin, because it's in the wetlands. So whether they dismantle it and get rid of it, or dismantle it and remantle it somewhere else, they need an SUP to do the work.
Okay.
And they need a building permit for me to put it up somewhere else, so it's not gonna fall off the list for at least another month or two.
Okay. Those are the questions I had. Anything else? You John?
Townhouse Road is just above the library, there's a camp on the left. It's got 2 RVs in it. Either one of them permitted? They've been there,
On Townhouse Road,
yeah.
That turned over last year, right? That property?
you mean across from the folks, the Red Gable,
Yeah.
Gable Farm?
Yeah.
That's doing all that work, yeah, and they have all their permits.
Yeah.
But across
the
from them,
street From them, yeah.
huh? I don't recollect, no, but I don't remember issuing any RV permits in
Well, they
there.
had 2 of them back there, and one of them they just covered up for the winter, so.
Okay, well, that's a good point. I mean, some people who responded to my emails about it saying, well, we're about done with it for the season. I'm saying, well, then fill out the form for the existing season and, we'll have you on record. But if somebody's already covered up and put it away, I mean, we're now into November. I'm not sure whether it makes sense to spend my time and stuff going back and forth. I mean,
Did you give a permit for the renovations on the cottage?
on which cottage?
Cottage that's it, the little camp that's there.
I think I'm not recognizing which property we're talking about, so that's,
Is it just beyond the field?
Yeah, it's on the,
You go by the library.
Yeah.
And
you go past the library, past the Red Gable Farm there
it's
on the
probably
right.
about number 55 maybe.
Uh-huh. It's before you get to Moody Road?
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh,
If you go past the library, it'd be first place on the left.
Let me go and look
I
then,
never,
because
I
I
never
don't,
saw it to a sale sign about a
um,
year and a half ago. Sets back.
There was a widow that lived there.
oh,
Used to see him
Left.
standing out there in the long trench coat,
ooh, sounds exciting.
lead his
Um,
troops.
I'll go check that out, because that doesn't ring a bell for anything. And I haven't been through there in a little bit, so. um, oh,
We had big crowds there on weekends. That's what I asked. Not that I care.
You're not invited,
No, that's the thing.
right?
What a tool.
It's like right around the corner, at least
Yeah.
invite that neighbor. Anything else, Rebecca?
Nope, but there's nothing else on here. The only other thing that I've been working on is fee structure. I think it's time that we upped our fees, and we've had a couple of different conversations about how to break it down. Conceptually, of course, it would be sort of little buildings, medium-sized buildings and big buildings. And the medium-sized and big buildings might fall between residential, non-residential, like garages and barns, and commercial. If I work up some kind of a schedule that makes sense, can I run it by Matt to make sure we're doing everything legally that we can without having a building inspector?
Just, and if you can just like briefly, like 10 minutes, run it by us before you do that.
Okay, okay.
I just want to get an idea of what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I will do that. I will do that then and pass it,
and then whatever it's gonna take.
send it out to you in an email that, this is what we're considering. Ask for feedback, and then we'll pass it to Matt. And because we can put that in place, I put that in place January 1st. It doesn't depend on, I mean, we set the fee structure here, doesn't depend on the ordinance or anything else.
Okay.
So even though a lot of the stuff that's depending on changes in the ordinance doesn't really
Yeah.
take effect until after the town meeting, fee structure, we could just change starting January 1st, and it might be,
We did a public hearing for that ahead of time, changing fees, right?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I know we do for the transfer
Reach out to
station.
Lee Kenny,
back, look at
just
that.
ask that question.
Okay, all right.
When you was on the fee structure, Jane, you were saying there's small building, medium and large. Are we going by square footage?
Well, that's
Is that
the legal question. I'm looking for my cheat sheet here of when we talked about it.
That seems like it would work. Just go,
It
1
is,
to
it is
1,000.
square footage, it's not value. Because value is the one that depends, this is my understanding. If you base your building permit on value, you're required to have a building inspector in order to validate that, verify it. So, but if you base it on something else, now, these are the suggestions actually, I think that came from Dave, which was that a building of under $5,000 value would be a $50 permit. There'd be a driveway permit thing, and anything over $5,000 would be $150. That's a very, very simple one. I didn't know, but what we wanted to have
It's
an
not too many
intermediate.
things under $5,000 anymore.
Well, yeah, most of the sheds and stuff that people do, I don't know, the pre-made sheds, I mean, yeah,
I was looking at a 10 by 12 the other day, pre-made, $11,000.
yeah, see, I don't really know.
But I like the formula.
Okay,
Something
so
simple,
we'll work it out.
that is for your rule or your question.
So something simple. So do we not even want to try and break out like non-commercial structures? I mean, commercial structure, non-residential structures, and difference between a barn and a house? Do we want to just,
I think residential and commercial ought to be different.
Yeah.
okay.
but,
And so so we got little, we got big. The question of big is big and you're living in it, big and you're not living in it. Do we want to have that differentiation, difference between a house
Why
and a
don't we
barn?
just charge per square foot?
Because I don't think you can charge per square foot unless you have a building inspector.
We have to do a little more legwork, I think, and then we come back to them.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
okay.
find out what's,
Yeah, thank you.
okay.
Yeah, but I think we've got
Yeah.
the general concept here.
Okay.
And that was the only other thing I had. People have asked a lot about the Owens White building up on the corner. The big, what looks like a commercial garage. And I have sent a letter out to them. They are swearing that it's not a commercial structure, that it's 2 owners, each with a garage downstairs, and one's gonna have an office upstairs and the other's gonna have an apartment upstairs and everything. I said, well, okay, I think you need to get in touch with our tax assessor and see how the building is going to be assessed, and then we'll see what your change of use is. Again, an advantage, Dave did the inspection, came back and told me what was going on. I wrote the letter, had a phone conversation, and now we have a better idea of the use, and then I put them back to talking to Dave. I mean, we haven't done this ever since I've been here, but this system of having him decide what the use is based on assessing, and then that gives me the power to say, well, tax assessing says this is commercial, you need to go to the planning board for change of use.
That's where his experience coming into that position was worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, that's the best place where I can use them on those site visits where things are complex and we're not quite understanding it, so.
Okay.
So, okay.
Anything else?
Not for me.
Yeah, you guys been watching non-public, I'll just write the time. I'll take off.
Go.
Oh, so you're done with me?
Don't-
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
all right,
Thank you, Rebecca.
thank you.
All right.
Don't forget your guys.
So
Oh, yeah, I get shot.
so we got everything done?
Yeah, that was all that was left.
Yeah. I thought there was another month.
Yeah, I think Lenny wanted one.
Lenny wanted one.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna ask Dave if he wants this coat.
Give me 10 seconds. Lonnie.
Yep.
I'm gonna shut the meeting.
Make sure that the,
Okay, we're now returning to the public meeting at approximately 11:10. Any other business coming before the selectmen today? Oh, seal the minutes? Yes, make a motion, seal the minutes for 12 months.
Second.
All those in favor, for Ron?
All right.
Anything else?
Right enough. Audrey, you did, I asked you about this, the offer, you said that you get to the end of this month, you said till November, right?
Right,
Okay.
I'll give him another call though.
No, it's all right, I just want to put it out there. Yes, the letter.
We would like to move the picnic table onto the cement slab, and Brad asked us to move it anyway because he needs to shovel around the generator. So we'll get that done.
Did you get any update on when we're gonna lose our sidewalk?
That was what we were talking about.
That's what he was asking, yeah.
Okay.
She told November, so November. Yeah, we just combined it all.
Yeah. It's all right there.
I know you're busy, the transfer station.
Yep, you'll have it in the next couple of days.
Okay, so 23rd.
Mhm, correct.
What time is that?
Oh, it'll be on right at 9 a.m. We'll do it,
First thing.
yeah, first thing, because it'll be a public hearing, and then go into the regular meeting.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, for the right?